Welcome to the HSP and Neurodivergent podcast. I'm Julie Bielen, the psychotherapist and founder of Sensitive Empowerment, specializing in helping the highly sensitive, autistic, and neurodivergent really embrace their gifts and flourish to their fullest potential.
And I'm Willow McIntosh, HSP facilitator and founder of Illuminance, specializing in working with the highly sensitive and neurodivergent to reveal their high sensory gifts and abilities, empowering them into business, career, and leadership in alignment with their purpose and true identity. Together, Julie and I share our experiences and aim to help you feel more connected as we travel our journeys together.
And we invite you to visit hsppodcast.com to explore previous episodes, leave comments. Let's get started. Hello, Willow.
Hi, Julie.
Oh, how are you?
I'm really well. Great to see you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm doing better. I was really overwhelmed for a few days planning for this trip. I haven't been on a trip for a while, so it is a lot. It's like a lot for my brain to process, just all the details. And I'm having like a new pet sitter and stuff like that. I always find that a little bit hard, that kind of stuff. And just all the detail, so many details. It's like my thing tends to be like all my issues is like leading up to the trip. And then once I'm actually just like driving away, then I'm fine. But it's like leading up to it is always this, my brain is processing like a million details and yeah.
Right, I know what you mean. Yes. So it's the planning and have I got everything and have I thought of everything?
That's part of it, but it's also like, God, it's even hard to explain. It is all the little details. And I haven't traveled for a while, so that's also a part of it. I've been kind of like in my internal world, and that is intentional. Like I'm doing that as a season of life right now to be in my internal world. So it's like leaving my internal world and like going out and going to stay somewhere else and trying to pack in a lot of stuff in a few days because there's a lot of people I want to see, but it's just a few days. So it's also like the worry. I worry a lot about one thing that I would love to work on about myself is like I worry a lot about my energy levels. It's like I'm worrying so much that I'm not going to have the energy that I want or that I'm going to be at the point where I'm really burnt out and I really cannot stand that feeling. So I always try to avoid it, but it's almost like it's a problem because I'm worrying that I'm not going to have enough energy and that takes energy worrying.
Right. Okay. Yes, I completely understand that. I really understand that. Yes. It's it is a challenging feeling to say the least sometimes because everything kind of shuts down, doesn't it? The brain kind of like goes foggy and nothing really works. And yeah, I do really understand that. I mean, it's one thing to know all of the tips and tricks of what to do when that happens, but I do understand that kind of the nerves around that. Is that going to happen? I really understand that. I get that too when I'm planning on going away. It's how long is it going to take me to recover and when am I going to recover, and all these pieces.
Yeah, you're like leaving your comfort zone.
Yeah. I think it's encouraging how quickly we recover. Do you find you recover quite quickly if you give yourself space to do so?
Well, this is just I don't know. This is like such a unknown thing what I'm doing because I'm packing in more than I normally would. I normally would give myself like a day of rest of nothing before a big event. It's my son's graduation. So it's like I would give myself a day of rest before that day and the day after. But because I'm only there for a short period of time and I really want to see my friends and family there, I'm doing more than I normally would. So I think there's like a little bit of worry about that. It's like, am I going to be okay? And it's just, I don't know. It's almost it's been a problem my whole life that I've worried about that stuff. And I know a lot of people listening probably have the similar, and I'd love to hear from you guys listening if that's something that you experience. But like 100% of the time, it's better than I am worrying about.
Right. I understand. Yeah. So the mind kind of gets carried away with how bad it might be, but actually, when you're there, it's easier than the mind makes out.
Yeah, it's almost like I can't even look forward to it until I'm just there. I've got all the details worked out and I just finally get there. And yeah, and having pets is always challenging too. It's like it definitely is challenging. I mean, this is the first time I've ever lived in a situation where I didn't have my friends and family nearby to take care of the pets. So I haven't really had to hire an outside person before. So that's also stressful. I did find a wonderful lady to come and do it, but still, it's just, I get stressed about stuff like that. Just having somebody you don't know that well come into the house and take care of your pets. And one of my pets is on medication. So
Hmm.
it's really, and they're older too. So there's other issues about that you worry about. Worrying is such
Yeah.
a waste of energy in general. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard to stop sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely understand. Yeah. It is it is it is a really weird part of being human, isn't it? Because it's actually a really futile exercise. We're almost kind of like making up a future that doesn't exist, and we're worrying about what might happen in that future.
Hmm.
It's a
Definitely.
very natural part of being human. Um, Trust is a really interesting piece that I often work with as well. It's a piece that I often find myself tuning into. Is like when I actually really feel into my heart, I deeply trust myself and I deeply trust the universe. But then when I kind of get into these states where I'm rushed or there's too much going on, then I kind of lift out of that reality almost of within myself, that kind of deep knowing within myself. And I have to remind and tune in and go, hang on a minute, what's actually happening right now? Is this real, what I'm feeling? And the part of me goes, no, that isn't really real. And then I sort of think, oh, okay, actually, I'm here, I'm safe, like I'm in this moment now. It's easier said than done, but
I like that.
it's quite a false reality almost, isn't it? When we're in that state.
Yeah. I like that tuning in and to trust yourself. I think I'm generally better at that, but I think it's been like I've been out of practice, you know, for a while. So I think there's almost a part of me that's like, um, it's been so amazing to have this. I've been spending so much time alone, and again, that's been intentional, um, for the just the self-discovery process I'm in right now. But it also I'm realizing that it's more alone time than I've ever experienced in my life, and it's actually been incredible. And I feel like I've done a lot of really wonderful growth work and healing work. But now I feel almost out of practice to be like out in the world, like especially in busy situations, um, where it's like you're there's just so much sensory overload. That's a big thing for
Mm.
me. But I need to trust that, like, I'll bring my earplugs. And something I've also been finding really great is, have you ever used any fidget tools, Willow?
Yes.
You have? I
Yeah,
don't,
I
have you ever
love
talked
fidget
about that?
tools. I mean, I'm fiddling with my Apple Pencil right now. If it's not that, then it's my air blower for
Oh, what is that
clearing.
for?
This is such a good. It's actually designed for like cleaning dust off of tech. Like if you're putting a new screen cover on your phone or something, like it gets all the dust off. but it's so handy for cat hair and just general clearing stuff. I even use it for my wood burner when I need to get the fire going. But it's also a really good fiddle toy.
Oh, wow, I've never seen one like that. That is so funny. Yeah, this is such a cool one. I like it because it's silent and you can do different things. You can move it in your hand, and then you can
Oh,
do
that's
like
cool.
it's pretty heavy. It's like steel, and then you can even do like where you're massaging your hand or your arm or
Oh,
leg or whatever. I never was into fidget tools actually until I discovered I was autistic, and I was just always kind of doing something with my fingernails, which is annoying to do a lot of. So I have discovered that, like, especially if I'm trying to concentrate on something or I'm having a long conversation with someone, I've noticed that having that really just helps me focus and kind of stay settled and calm. And yeah, so I'm experimenting with different ones. This one's like my favorite. I'll link it to the show
ah,
notes in case anybody wants it. But it's
yes.
pretty cool too. It's fun too. We've been talking about this in my autistic women's group too. People have been talking about the different things they play with, and it's kind of fun. Oh, somebody else told me about this like putty. Do you remember silly putty? Did you ever play with
I
that when you were
used
a
to
kid?
love that stuff. Yeah, I used to love it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like an adult version now somebody just told me about. And so I've been playing with it, and I should have brought that because it's so fun and it has all these different colors in it. And I forgot how much I like to shape things. Like I used to like to do um, like different sculptures with clay. I should do that again because I was into that for a while. But that feeling of
Yeah.
like sculpting different things, so I'm doing that, and I'll have to bring that on the next podcast to show that one. It's really fun to play with.
Like making the perfect cube. That's what I was always trying to do with Silly Putty,
Oh
like
yeah, I remember that.
perfect cube. And then, because it's bouncy, eventually I'd lob it, so it bounced all around the room.
Yes, and it makes those little air bubbles that kind of pop. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, cube! I used to do that too. How funny! I'm gonna have to do the cube now. I'll be thinking about you when I'm making the cube next.
Yeah, that's so pleasing. I didn't realize that was an autistic thing. I find when I'm facilitating clients, I always have to have something of some sort in my hands. Like, for instance, I've broken my nail file because that I play with that so much. I did have this really cool, like, the fidget toy that I found that I really liked was like a set of gears that turn. So it's almost it's a brass cube in the middle, and then it's got like a set of gears on every surface. So when you turn one turns the other side. So it kind of you can spin it, and then it's all kind of connected. The gears are connected, but the feeling of it was really nice because it just kind of like all the cogs just fit really well in the fingers, and it was just very nice to. And it was really heavy, and it was. But I
Ah, that's
I
pretty
broke it
fun
in
to.
the end.
You broke it, man. You're breaking. Were you like a little boy breaking all your toys when you were little?
Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah. I think I love taking things to bits, like and just seeing how things are working. But I think because I play with things for so long, eventually they just fall apart.
Yeah,
These did,
that's funny. Actually, this would be a fun thing for our listeners. I would love for you guys to make comments on this episode about your favorite fidget toys or tools, because that would be fun. I like discovering new ones, and because it's fairly new for me to even be researching this. I even tried to go to a store one time and find little things, but I'm not even aware. Is there like a store that has fidget tools that you can like walk into and play with them? I don't even know if that exists. That would be a neat store.
that would be great. Yeah, so you can go and feel them all. Yes.
Yeah. You just see us all in
Yeah,
there like playing with all the little things. I mean, I think that would be a cool store to go to.
it would be. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It would be really lovely to have like a high sensory store that's really intriguing for HSPs and neurodivergent people. Um, like weighted blankets and but all the cool stuff, but then all the fiddly things and sensory experiences.
Ooh, a
Um,
sensory store. That would be super cool. Yeah. with all kinds
Yeah.
of different sensory experiences. That would be really neat to do. Even like a room with, I've seen that my son went to, he was in Japan for something, and he went into, it was like, I saw photos and videos of it, but it was like all these bubbles and lights. And it was like a dark room, but all these different lights. It was just so, I was like, oh, wow, I would love to be in a room like that.
Yes. Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I think like those, what are those kind of like sensory immersion tanks that you can go in? Is it where you
Yeah.
lie in the with the lights? And have you been in one of those?
Yeah, I have. Have you?
No.
Oh, yeah. It's wonderful. Well, I'm like a bath. I like my baths every day. And this is like an extra big bathtub, but it's like they put so much um like salts in there. I guess it's Epsom salts or magnesium salts, but it's so much. I guess it's the amount that is, and it's like a little dome that you lay in. So it's complete sensory, like you have it, the idea of it is that there is absolutely no sensory sensation basically, because there's like no sounds, and uh you don't feel anything. Almost, you're just laying there floating, and it's very relaxing.
Wow. Did you feel like a kind of like a connection? What happened with your experience? Did you find yourself sort of expanding and immersing? And was it like did it become like a spiritual experience?
Yeah, definitely. Because you do it for like an hour, I think. It's like the first maybe 10 minutes of it, you're sort of adjusting and getting used to it and almost like allowing yourself to slow down enough to relax. And then once you kind of cross over that point and you just completely immerse yourself in the experience, it's so relaxing.
Mm.
It's so, I mean, you and I love water, so I mean, really anything that has to do with water is
Yeah.
it's something amazing. Like every morning try to put my feet into the sea, because I'm lucky I live on a lagoon that has ocean water in it. So spend time with my little fish friends. Oh my goodness, there was some like young teens fishing. You're not supposed to fish in this lagoon. There's like signs, but there was these
Right.
teens a couple days ago fishing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, you haven't caught anything, have you? I said, these are like our pets in here. I got all worried. I'm like
You
trying
get
to
up with a
protect you.
megaphone. Excuse me, excuse me. This
Yeah,
is
I've
not
like
allowed.
named the fish. I'm like, you can't fish in here. These are our pets. They come up to us.
Right.
Like all worried they caught one of my little friends. I'm getting way too attached to these guys, Willow, and the the birds too. My green heron friend. I thought that I well, this is kind of a sad part, but I thought that I found him dead. And so I grieved
Oh,
him like so hard. I was so attached to this bird because I spend like every morning with it. This beautiful green heron. And he had been missing. He had usually comes every morning, but he hadn't come for a long time. So I thought maybe something happened to him. And on a walk, Niko found a body, which I thought was him. And I cried. I posted it that he had died and everything, Willow. And then,
oh,
like, after 2 weeks of crying, I mean, I was seriously grieving. He shows up. And I'm just like, what is happening? I don't know who that was that we saw. And, but now I'm almost like too afraid to get myself that attached again. But he's just my little friend that every morning is out there fishing.
oh, oh, my goodness me. I mean, that just indicates your wonderful connection that you have with animals. It's amazing how you're able to communicate with them and have the relationship that you have with animals. So I can completely understand how that would have been so moving.
Yeah, but he's so special. I was even thinking of it'd be cool to have a tattoo of him. If anybody has seen a green heron, especially in the sun, it is like a piece of art. Like they're pretty small herons, but they have these amazing feathers, like the colors. and they're just what they look like when the sun is shining. And he's just so beautiful. And it was so special because they're kind of known to be very solitary, um, because they do their own fishing and they only spend time with another green heron if they're mating or raising young. But other than that, they spend all their time alone. And so it was like the two of us were sitting out there every morning alone,
Oh,
like 5 o'clock in the morning, overlooking the water. And he just got more and more comfortable with me to the point where he would just be like literally right next to me, grooming himself. And
wow.
I just look at him with such awe because he's just so beautiful and
Oh,
sweet. I feel like
amazing.
I feel him.
Hmm. Yes, I can understand that. Do you find also that when you're observing animals and that, when you get really close to them, you're almost seeing into their intelligence or perhaps into their world, but what's so amazing about animals is they don't have that kind of madness that we have, like the worry that we have. That they're so grounded and they're so present in the moment. I know obviously some animals experience trauma and you can see that, but wild animals tend to have that presence about them, that kind of that depth of intelligence. Do you find yourself sort of connecting with that or seeing that?
Definitely. I love that about them. And there's just a communication that's not verbal. And I think I've learned that I really cherish that kind of communication where there isn't verbal and you're just connecting in this really like soul level. That's my experience where I'm connecting at a soul level. It was really interesting. Like when I used to train guide dogs for the blind, I was really good at tuning into the dogs, so much so that I knew what they were going to do before they did it. So my dogs were always trained really well. And, but it was just like I knew I could read them. I could just connect. And I've always been like that since I was a little kid. I was so lucky at age 8, my dad bought a farm in Minnesota. We were living in Oregon at the time, and then my dad bought a farm in Minnesota. And I think he had planned for us to move there permanently, but we actually moved back and forth for my entire life from like second grade until I was a senior in high school. And but the farm, I was just out there with the animals all day, Willow. Like I don't even know if I spoke words, but it was like this amazing connection I had with them, and they would follow me around, and just such a wonderful memories. I do want to have that again one day where I have some land and well, I want land by the ocean. That's what I
Yeah,
really want. I could be
yeah.
by the ocean, but also have my land and have some animals. I would really like that.
Yeah, that's such an amazing gift. That really is to be able to connect and communicate in that way, and it indicates their kind of level of presence. To be able that they have such power within them. Obviously, they are a part of nature, but it's to be able to connect in that way and communicate in that way. There's it's almost like tapping into this, as you say, the soul level that they have this amazing power within them. Do you find that too?
Yeah, I would like to be. I like to learn how to be more. How they are just so present and they do everything that they need to do. If they're tired, they rest. If they just do whatever they want to do without any thought to it. It's just a presence, taking care of their present moment needs. And I think that's kind of a neat way to be.
Yeah, yeah. There's not too much kind of like flapping about or indecision, right? They're just following that intuitive moment of whatever's happening there. It's the same thing when I'm at the moment I'm snorkeling a lot. There's a spot close to the house here that I go down. I go down really early in the morning, and I'm finding I'm going 3 times a day at the moment down there. And
Oh,
it's like when I'm getting, getting my bag and getting my shorts and getting my face mask and everything, I'm going down, and then I'm thinking about this, thinking about that, and then I get in, and then all of a sudden there's just this room, and I'm just in this other dimension. and these fish could just come and like, just look at me, and I'm looking at these fish and I'm like, what is going on? Like just now I was sitting in front of my laptop having a sandwich or whatever it is, and now there's this amazing creature just floating there in this different world, just observing me, and we're looking at each other, and it's just mind blowing that there's this whole ecosystem that they're a part of, and they're doing their thing down there, and that there is this profound presence of stillness in nature under there, and how they're all kind of interconnected with that. It just blows me away. I find it incredibly exciting observing and just following the fish. And sometimes I'll disturb the sand a bit, and they will come and check out and think, "Oh, what's in there?" You know. And I saw a starfish yesterday. I saw a starfish hiding under a rock yesterday. It's just, just really.
Oh my God. That's amazing. I love that so much. I know exactly what you mean with snorkeling. That is one of my favorite activities to do. I have said many times that I think in another life I must have been, or I want to be, something that lives in the water, because I could just be in the water all the time. And that experience when all the fish are around, oh my goodness. Do you wear a wetsuit when you do that?
It's hot right now, but I do wear a wetsuit sometimes, and sometimes I will wear weights and fins, and this is where I quite like to go quite deep, so that the air in the wetsuit doesn't make me rise, so I can kind of like so you can kind of you can just hold your position in terms of up and down, and that I
Oh,
love that.
wow, Willow. I wish I was a traveler and I could go do that with you. I used to be a traveler. Too bad we didn't meet in my 20s. Oh, we have a place
Yeah.
we've gone to here. I need to get a wetsuit though. I was here when my son was visiting, we were trying to go, but it was way too cold. And the water here in the lagoon, I actually went in a couple days ago, but it's not clear enough. This lagoon is not clear enough to see the fish, unfortunately, because I think that would be so fun. But this morning
Wow.
there was this massive flounder. Those are those really flat fish. And
Yeah.
I've seen it do this before, but it hasn't. I was thinking this is maybe the second time. It literally flew out of the water. I think it was like, I don't know what it was, catching something, and it flew out of the water right in front of us. Like we even got wet from the splash. I say we,
Wow.
me and Niko, my pup.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's so fun to watch. Now all the baby fish are getting bigger, so the herons are coming around, and it's just so fun to watch. I was watching I got a video yesterday of a stingray came up to the surface, and so like in the video was one of my fish friends, Herman, who I call my fish friend Oscar, and Jezebel. These are going to be characters in the third children's book we're doing, in fact, which I'm
Oh,
excited about.
amazing.
Oh, speaking of that, we're getting the proof today, the physical copy today to look at, and if everything looks good, we're publishing it. So we're already there. But Carol has done an amazing job.
Wow.
She's just got such a beautiful vision for how she's laid it out and everything. It's amazing what she's done.
Oh, how exciting. I can't wait to read it. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Yeah, very
Yeah,
exciting.
introducing Niko, my pup Niko, the highly sensitive dog. The Adventures of the Highly Sensitive Dog. Adventures of Niko, the highly sensitive dog. That's what the series is going to be called. So it's fun, and I'm excited to write about for us to write about all the different sea creatures now that I live here.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I think there is something very magical about the underwater world. They say that dolphins are as intelligent or, as intelligent as we are. And maybe they're so that they know how to keep things simple. They're not complicating life as we do. They're just enjoying that pleasure of just being underwater and messing about and
Oh, yes. Did I ever show
surfing in
you
the way
that
that they do.
video we were on a boat and there was like thousands of dolphins? Did I ever show that video to you?
Wow, no, well, you were
Have you ever
there.
seen that before? When yourself, like thousands
Uh,
of? dolphins together?
No, no. I was surfing once in Australia, and one surfer is next to me, which actually scared the pants off me initially because I didn't know what it was. But it came out the water and then went under me like that. I was like, what the? But that's the only interaction I've had with one. But tell me, so they come together in large numbers sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. It was like a boat tour. It was actually like a whale watching tour, but we didn't see whales, but we saw thousands of dolphins. And I didn't know that they can have up to 10,000 in a pod. That's what they were saying
What?
on yeah. And it was like everywhere you looked, there were dolphins all around the boat. And then they swim in the wake of the boat. So they were just like right there, and there was babies. It was just incredible to
Wow.
see that many dolphins at the same time.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
We'll have to go do that when you visit.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yes, I think it's I think there is a very special connection there that clearly you have with the animal world, and me too. My cat's very important to me, and looking after the other cats in around the area. There's so many stray cats here in Greece, so often doing that. Um, but it is, yeah, I think it is, it's part of the connections that we make. Because I also, I really love my own time with myself. It's a hugely important part of my life. But then equally are the connections that I make. And I think sometimes, whether it is a connection with an animal or it's with another person or it's with nature in some way, I think the depth of connections that we have and the depth of friendships that we make is a very important part of who we are, I think. To cherish that, and there's almost something in the exploration and in the interconnection. There seems to be almost a way into understanding different parts of ourselves, I think. They say like if you ask a friend, if you try to figure out why you're very close with someone, often what is found is that you both share a similar why in the world. In other words, you both what really matters most to you is common between the two of you, and that tends to be what is the basis to the friendship. And I think that's really a great part of for us as HSPs to have that depth of connection because of what we can kind of see in each other, and what we can kind of explore, and how we can understand our own selves better, and how we can understand the world better by being able to kind of use that reflection in the other person to understand ourselves more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like for me, I've really invested with an intention. My there's Niko in the background. Can you see him?
Yeah, yeah, he's heard something.
And like I have invested like in two friends over the years with intention. And one of them I met when one of my sons was little, and was was friends with her son, and was going to their farm. And I was like, oh, they have a farm. And then I was dropping them off, and then they said that they had gotten these baby goats. And if anybody knows me, I absolutely love goats. And I was like, you
Oh.
have baby goats? And I was so excited.
Oh.
I was more excited than my son. And then she also had horses, and then I ended up getting a horse and having it on her farm. And we used to go horse riding, and we'd walk with like it was so much fun. She lived kind of like up in this mountain, and we would go for these walks with the horses, like 4 dogs with us, goats, a pig. All of these animals would follow us on these walks, and it was almost like it reminded me of being like a little kid playing with a friend when I was a little kid, and it was just it was so just joyous. Like that's how that
Mm.
friendship got started. And then the other one was like she used to be my supervisor as a therapist, and we just spent hours all the time talking to each other for years. And then as soon as I became licensed, we sort of could become friends after that. And she's just been a dear person in my life that we talk often and talk deeply and understand each other on these deep levels. And so I really cherish
Mm.
those friendships. And it takes a long time. Moving away from everybody has been hard. And but fortunately, we can still do like video chats and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to seeing. They're both excited that I'm going to come and see them.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I think and it's interesting because with animals, there's that there's such innocence in them, and when you really get close to them, the love in them it's so unconditional. There's no nonsense around it. There's no expectation. They're right there in it, and I think that sort of that strength of love and connection is. I mean, it's obvious that we look for that, but I think there's something very powerful when we do meet like-minded people, and it's fascinating also to think that there's only a very small amount of people that we will actually meet and be close with in our lives. They say there's 20 or people or something that you get really close with and build a strong connection generally. And I think that's really interesting, that there are particular other souls that we meet that serve as a very powerful reflection in many ways. And we're almost looking for particular parts of ourselves on our soul mission to understand more deeply. And how that, how we look for that closeness and that connection where we can be vulnerable and let our guard down and find that trust and that that kind of that sort of that greater connection of love that can happen through friendship that also happens with animals.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about my childhood friendships, and one in particular I had for a long time, and when we were friends all the way into probably like into my 30s even, and we met as children. But it was I also realized over time that it wasn't I wasn't myself at that age. And so it wasn't like an ideal friendship for me. I was kind of in a space where I think I was so overwhelmed with school and everything that she was sort of somebody that kind of just took over. And in a way, I think I thought that was a good thing at that age. But looking back on it, I was like, that probably wasn't a very healthy friendship. And I heard that a lot from like our listeners about friendship and thinking about, because we really can't truly be connected to someone unless we are showing up as ourselves. And in order to show up as ourselves, we have to feel safe and to be vulnerable. And I think as sensitive children growing up, it's difficult to feel that with a lot of different people. So it's almost like when you find that person. Willow, you and I were kind of like that in a way. It was like we had when we first met, there was a sense of kind of feeling like it was okay to put our walls down, and even more so when we kind of made that decision to do it in a way. We both
Yeah, yeah.
excuse me, we both kind of made that decision to put our walls down. Interesting, right?
Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah, and what's so amazing, I love is when that decision happens. It's like, okay, so the walls go down, and it's sort of like testing the water. Where am I in this experience? Who's who, what's what, and there's something that's like, oh, okay, so I can show you this part of me, and you really get that bit, and and then you reciprocate that bit, and then I think, oh, great, so I can actually be in that part of myself, and I can explore, and then suddenly there's this almost like a shared playground where there's there are kind of agreed bits that are that are just there that don't have to really be worried about again, and that's when the vulnerability comes, I think, and then then you can really explore yourself in that way. And that, I love that. I find
Yeah.
that, and I definitely have that with you. Like in our conversations is when we're talking about the underwater pieces or whatever it may be, there's just this shared experience of knowing, like you're just there together in the same experience of life, and then there's something really magical about that. I really
Yeah.
cherish that.
Yeah. And like I tend to, and it's so interesting too, because the connection is usually like when you meet someone, oftentimes it's like a knowing and a seeing, that you feel like you can connect on that on a certain level. And I also connect more when other people can be more vulnerable and put their walls down. Like I'm not good at surface level. I'm not good at hiding how I feel. If I have to see somebody in person that where there's strain in the relationship or something, I cannot hide that. Like everything shows on my face. It's always been like that.
Right.
and I also can't. I also don't. It feels awful to hide it too. Like in situations where you have to be around somebody that's hurt you or something has gone wrong in some way. It's really challenging for me to just be at the surface level and pretend that that doesn't exist. I just can't even do it. Oh, there's your kitty.
Yeah.
I'm surprised mine haven't jumped up here yet.
Yeah, I really know what you mean. I find that very difficult too. If there isn't like if there's something in the space, or there isn't that click where I guess it's just a difference in person. There's an expectation in the other person that they're used to, and that doesn't click. It's there's something in the space there, and that's okay. It just means that we're kind of different. And I think I was just thinking about it more then, is the more permission I have to be weird, and that's going to be held and received, like that, the more close I get to someone. Like if I don't have to worry about what I'm saying, or some experience that I've had, and that's what I love so much about our conversations, is because there isn't anything that I ever talk about that really shocks you, or um, whatever I come up with, you just hold the space for it. And that's just incredibly important to me, because then it just means that I can, I can just go wherever I want to go within my thinking and my feeling, and and to be able to enjoy the weirdness of self. I think if that's threatening to someone, which again is not a judgment in any way, maybe if they feel unsure about sharing weird parts of themselves or unusual parts of themselves, I find that very difficult to be in that kind of scenario. If the person's, you just like, can I talk about that? Or if they're that, no, I don't talk about that kind of thing, then I'm just only half of myself.
Yeah, like not to have to filter yourself. And I love
Yeah.
that when you share your crazy stories with me. Your wild stories and your adventures and all the, like, I guess using the word weird, but I mean the weirder the better to me. I've always been drawn to, like, if you could find the most unusual person in the room or the person that was just so authentically themselves. Was always drawn to that, the person that isn't filtering who they are and they're just showing up as their self. I've always been so drawn to that. And then the opposite is true if I'm around somebody that's at surface level and, filtering themselves, and you can feel the filter. It is so difficult for me to engage in that experience. But
Yeah.
the weirder the better. I love it.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I completely understand. I'm exactly the same. Yes, yes. I think it's so weird being human anyway. That we're in this kind of we're in this sort of this world that we don't really know very much about it, to be honest. Yet there's so much that we can get up to. There's so much that we can experience, and I think when I come to the later days in my life, what I'm so proud of myself is that I tried so many things, and I allowed myself to get really weird and really curious, and just what does that feel like? What happens if I do this? What happens if I go over there? And to be able to meet someone else who has that openness and willingness to do whatever, or to trust, just to try and see just how interesting or curious or weird things can get. If there's limitations around that, then I find it hard to connect with that person.
Yeah. It would have been so interesting to live life like to redo life if I think about how exciting it would be to be who I am right now as a child. Well, I mean, I guess I was like that as a child, but probably you start to shift who you are or hide who you are in some ways because you've got those messages that how you are is not okay in some way, so that you
Mm.
cover up parts of yourself. But how wonderful to like go through life if you could just be you in the world. And it makes other people safer too. Like I have a lot of clients tell me that it's like there is a safety with me that they feel, that they just feel so safe that they can say anything. And there isn't a filter. And it's been so amazing. Well, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but because I've been working with a lot of autistic women, it's been one of the most beautiful experiences for me has been when somebody tells me that they have never put their wall down before and have never been vulnerable until we've started talking. So it's almost like a
Amazing.
practice that it's like, wow, I'm the person that gets to witness the real them in that moment. And it is such a beautiful honor to give somebody that kind of that sense of safety and for them to show up as themselves. And it's just like, and I just think they're so beautiful as they are. They're just such incredible women. And it pains me to think that there's so many of, autistic women walking around in the world hiding who they are, because they're just so incredible, like how they've navigated the world without support, especially, finding out later in life, being able to just getting messages their whole life that how they are is wrong somehow. And it'll be like, and sometimes I'll ask them directly, I'll say, well, what percentage of the wall have you put down in our conversations? And then they'll say, oh, 100%. So then I can say,
Wow.
so you've been able to do that with me. And now we can practice doing that out in the world, with others. But it's such an honor, Willow, to have that ability to give someone that space to put that down that wall and know that they're safe. It's
Amazing.
such a beautiful thing.
Look, one of the greatest gifts there is, I think, for someone to be truly seen and acknowledged for who they are it's what we all deeply crave, and to be able to hold that space for someone to be able to do that, as you say, often for the first time, it's just incredible to do that, and it takes a particular character such as yours to be able to do that, because really it reflects how comfortable you are with yourself. I think that the relationship that you have with yourself, or perhaps how you allow yourself to experience yourself, that you're there's a deep self-acceptance within you that allows you to create that space.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful honor. Like I really love that experience, and I love being able to see the real you, the real person without the wall, without the filter. And they're always such incredible people. And I just want, like, I guess the idea of the more we show up as ourselves, truly ourselves, without those filters, without those masks, that we get to meet people who are going to love and cherish who we are exactly as we are. Because if we've got that
Yeah.
wall up, then someone can't really see us, and so therefore can't really connect to us. And I know it feels scary to do that sometimes, but it's like there are people out there that are safe to do that with, and to um, start to practice, because it is a little bit of a practice to put that wall down and show up as yourself, especially because these messages that we received that in childhood, that something was wrong with the way we communicated or the way we were in some way. And yet there's just such, it's almost hard to put into words, but there's just such a beautiful thing to have that moment with someone, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a very important piece there as well is, you know, there are, and we talk about this when we talk about the people pleasing piece, you know, there are people out there in the world that we're going to deeply connect with, and there are people that we won't, that we're not going to. And when we find someone that we're not going to connect with, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. And I think that's that's part of the conditioning when we were younger, you know, because we were told we were different, too sensitive, whatever the messages that we received, is then whenever we experience that disconnection, we immediately go to think, oh, it must be something wrong with me, that's why I can't connect with this person, rather than thinking to ourselves, well, this person's just different to me, so then I will go about my day and carry on, and then when we meet someone, it's like, oh, you're like me, and now I can have a truly open conversation. And I think it's important to be aware of that it's just finding the part of our tribe, finding the people that we genuinely connect with.
Yeah. Oh, something I also wanted to say today is I wanted to tell our listeners happy Pride. It is Pride Month here. And so those of you that are on the LGBTQ plus spectrum, I just wanted to say happy Pride. And this is another piece of like being yourself in the world, to be able to be safe as you are, to be accepted as you are. And I wanted you to know and hear somebody's voice tell you that you are cherished as you are, exactly as you are. And that's just something that's been important to me, to share that message.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, so important, so important. And I was thinking about that the other day, how all of nature's running on a spectrum of opposites at the either end of the spectrum. And there's every single iteration that you can imagine within that spectrum, whether it's species of birds, its colors, its flavors. Nature is sitting in this vast spectrum. So when it comes to our sexuality, of course, there's going to be every iteration through that spectrum. And that's just a part of being nature. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how it's supposed to be. It's to be
Yes,
celebrated.
sexuality and gender identity. I also,
Yeah.
there are, excuse me, there are so many spaces that are not safe to express your full self as you are. And so I just want to make sure that I share that. And you're talking about, in nature, like there's fish that have gender changes, and
Mm.
we have tons of information about, well, actually lots of creatures and species that have gender changes, have a spectrum of sexuality. It's like such a normal part of um, the experience of nature, and it's a normal part of the human experience as well. And again, I think in a way, Willow, just I think in a way we come from a place that's like we don't need to fit into some sort of conditioned box that society tries to put us in, and
Mm.
instead take out, just come out of that box and just love and accept yourself for exactly who you are in the world, and be allowed to explore all of those pieces, and to know that sexuality is a spectrum, gender is a spectrum, and that is a natural part of the human experience as well as it is in nature's experience. And I think it's powerful for people to hear that. There's people in countries right now listening that these kinds of expressions can mean death and can
Yeah,
where it's not accepted. And so I think it can be a powerful thing to just verbalize that I really come from a place that none of us fit in the boxes, and we shouldn't have to.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And to recognize the importance that we have just by being who we are. It's the same when we look across nature. Whether it's a plant or a tree or an animal or whatever, it plays a role within the greater ecosystem. It's supposed to be there. Nothing is out of place. Nothing's there by mistake. It's the same with us. The nature of who we are, the character of our soul and our heart is meant to be, and it plays a role within the greater context of the ecosystem. So this is about embracing our weird and truly being who we are, and recognizing, especially for us as the neurodivergent, we are really here to bring a whole different perspective to the world, and that's there for a reason. And I think, being proud of who we are, proud of our differences, and recognizing that those differences are intended by nature and here to be expressed and enjoyed.
Yes, and we can find spaces where we can be safe, and that's part of what I do in the sensitive empowerment community, is make sure that we have a safe space to be ourselves in the world, to be exactly who you are. And I want everybody to know that that's an option. You can come and spend time in the community, and you're going to be loved and accepted for exactly who you are. And so I want to just warmly invite anybody who needs that kind of space in their life. And Willow, this has been a lot of fun. Is there anything else that you wanted to share today?
I think we've covered some wonderful pieces. I've very much enjoyed it. Yes, yes, and yes, if you're looking to understand your gifts and abilities and purpose more as an HSP, then check out highsensoryintelligence.com. The genius of you is very welcome to come and find out how that operates and how you fit into this greater context, what your place is and what your purpose is, and how you can bring yourself into service in the world. There's all sorts of ways that you can explore that and begin to truly understand your identity, and to meet other people on a similar path to you.
Beautiful. Yes, and they can be the change, just like my shirt is saying. They can work with you and be part of the change that the world needs.
Yeah.
Be you, be part of the change. Know that there are people who love and accept you just as you are in the world. And we are some of them.
We are.
So I'll put all the things that we talked about. I'm going to put even my favorite fidget tool in the show notes if you're interested in it. And I'll let you keep you updated about the book that's coming out soon. And I'll put a link to that. You can go to sensitivenico.com. Isn't that cute? That's
great.
That's where we're having our book, and kids can even write to Niko. And
is that Niko with a K or with a C?
Yes.
Niko with a K.
Thanks for saying that. Niko with a K. Yeah.
Niko with a K. And the kids can interact. They can ask questions and interact.
Yeah, they can send a message to Niko and some of the characters. So it's a lot of fun.
Oh.
So thanks, Willow, for being with us, and everybody listening. We are, I think in a way energetically connecting to you all there. And I would really love to hear from you guys on this episode and what you might want us to talk about in future episodes. We'll bring in some questions too, if you guys have any questions for us specifically. I actually think it'd be fun if people ask us some personal questions, right, Willow?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, be very, very, very open to those, definitely.
Yeah, so ask us questions. You can go to hsppodcast.com to leave some messages on our episodes, and you can see all of our episodes there too to get caught up. And thanks for listening, everybody. We're sending out lots of love to all of you, and may you love yourself as you are and know that there are others in the world who love you as you are.
Absolutely. Yes. Take very good care, and we shall see you next time.
Yes. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening today. I hope you'll join my sensitive empowerment community, which is a very nurturing and supportive private space where we can spend time together. I also recommend exploring my online courses created to help the sensitive and neurodiverse thrive and just fully flourish. You can find all the information at sensitiveconnection.com.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us reach more people who can benefit from our message. And visit highsensoryintelligence.com today to try our free community and begin your journey of aligning with your true identity and revealing your high sensory purpose. Until next time, take care and continue to honor yourself. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.